All right, class, let's get rolling right away with lesson 3-11. For those students in the loft, we know that we're going to first start by looking at our learning target. And today we are trying to use helper facts to solve multiplication facts that I do not have memorized. And we're going to do that by adding a group. So this is on page 90. You're going to follow along on page 90, and you're going to do this exactly the way that I'm doing it. So I want you to draw it out. If you need to pause the video to stay caught up, then please do so. So let's look at the number 1 on page 70, or page 90. Sketch a picture to show 2 rows of jars with 7 jars in each row. How many jars are there in all? So let's first sketch that picture. So we've got 2 rows of jars. I'm going to let each row rest on a line. So 2 rows with 7 jars. So I'm going to draw my 7 jars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Need to make my shelf a little bit longer. So I'm also going to do like a good mathematician does. I'm going to make a key. K and a, this equals a jar. Okay, so now I have 1 row. I need to have 2. So 2 rows. I'm just going to duplicate this first row. All right, so now let's take a moment and add our next row in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So our multiplication number model, we have 2 rows times 7 jars in each row equals 14. I'm going to make sure I include my units. 14 jars. All right, so now if we take a look, though, at our next part of the problem, it says to use a colored pencil to add another row of jars to show 3 rows of 7 jars in each row. So let's add our next row of jars. So move this over for a moment. We're going to add our jars here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now we've added our next row of jars. Let's go back to our next step of our problems. It says, I added 1 group of how many jars? And we added 1 group of 7 jars. So we're going to write a number model to describe our new picture, which will look something like this. So we've had 2 times 7, as you can see here. 2 times 7 equals 14. So we're going to continue to use that number model. So we'll write that there. We had 2 times 7 equals 14. That was visible within this first part here. I'll circle it in bright green. This first part was 2 times 7, and that equals 14. If we look to our next part, we then added 1 more group of 7. So this became an addition to our number model. So let's record our number model this way. We had 2 times 7 equals 14. And then we did 14 plus these 7 jars here equals 21. And then it gets to our next part of our question. How did knowing 2 times 7 help you figure out 3 times 7? And I could say something like, well, I know 2 times 7 equals 14, so I added 1 more group of 7 onto my answer, 14. My new number model is 14 plus 7 equals 21. So 3 times 7 equals 21. That'd be one way of writing it. You don't need to write all of that down I just wanted to model for you what explaining it would look like. So now let's take a look at another example on our next page. All right, so we're going to be looking now at the fact 6 times 3. Let's imagine for a moment that we don't have this one memorized. If you do, you just follow along because I'm still expecting you to show me how to use this strategy even if you are unfamiliar or if you already have it memorized. So we're going to use the helper fact of 5 times 3. I know that I can count by my 5s, 5 times 3, then count there by 3 times and go 5, 10, 15. So skip counting, 5, 10, 15. So 5 times 3 is 15. I'm going to use a picture to show me how I can get now 6 times 3. So I'm going to draw my array of 5 times 3. So I've got 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, and I need to put 3 in each row. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Now I'm going to do something. I'm going to use, it's kind of like a parentheses, but it's a little bit different in shape, and it's just going to be used to show that this section, this part of the array here that's in purple, represents the math fact of 5 times 3. So now I'm still trying to use 5 times 3 to help me get 6 times 3. So I first had 5 groups of 3. I'm going to write that out. This is 5 groups of 3. We can see each one of the groups is represented here. There's 5 of them. 2, 3, 4, 5. It's important to think of it like this, 5 groups of 3, because it'll help us. Because now if we think of 6 times 3, 6 times 3 is actually 6 groups of 3. We're going to add on our 6th group. We have 5. We need to show 6. So I'm going to have my 6th group written right here. And this would actually represent 1 times 3. So 6 groups of 3 is total. We had 15 here in our first group. We have 3 here. So our new number model is going to be 15, which is what we had up here as well. 15 plus one more group of 3 equals 18. So 6 times 3 equals 18. I'm using words because I'm teaching this and I'm explaining it. So if you were going to use words to solve, you would need to write down the words that I just explained. So we used pictures. We have our numbers to show how we solve that problem. All right, class, this here is the bottom of page 91. So right here we've got page 91. I am going to give you the facts here. So the fact that we are going to solve is going to be 6 times 7. So I'm going to want you to use the helper fact 5 times 7 to help you solve 6 times 7. If you need to, rewind the video to see how we use this strategy in the first 2 examples. You're going to use pictures, numbers, or words to show how you use your helper fact to solve a new fact. When you're finished, you're going to submit all of page 91 in Seesaw. So just this last part here is what you need to work on. So you're going to submit that in Seesaw. And then look at this. This is some new directions that we haven't had before. You're going to come and find Mr. Campbell for your verbal quiz. I'm going to have you try this strategy out using some of our flashcards. So just bring with you just your body. All right. I'm expecting to see some great work in Seesaw. After you do your verbal quiz, I'll let you know what you're going to do next. This is Mr. Campbell signing off from the loft. Let's have a good rockin' lesson.